You're awesome. All right, folks, before we get started, you're being recorded. So if you can't be here, say goodbye and catch the recording later on YouTube. Hello and welcome to MVP Office Hours. Today is February 21st. My name is Joy Shutters Helbing, and I have a co-host. Where are you? Where are you?
I'm
He's
hiding in the shadows here.
Squire Kirshner's hiding in the shadows. Um, You can find us here on the first and third Friday of each month. You can also find Squire and I on LinkedIn. You can follow us there. You can also follow MVP Office Hours on Twitter. We should probably remove that because we're not really active there anymore. And then we also have a Gmail email address where if you are desperate to get a hold of us, we might see it in a week or so. But the best way to get a hold of us is in the success community and MVP Office Hours US. Squire, if you could grab that link and pop it in the chat, that'd be super duper.
You
Or
got
you
it.
know what? It's right here. It's right here in the speaker notes with
Huh?
waffles. I like waffles. But the QR code is here for MVP Office Hours too. If you want to take a quick photo of that, you can do that. Photo, capture, all the things. Okay. We covered all that first, third Fridays. Da, 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 da. Okay. So we are not meeting on the third, friends. This is going to be the 21st. So the next first Friday is the Friday of TDX. Squire and I will be managing trains, planes, and automobiles to return home from TDX. So we will not be hosting the call on the first Friday of March. So the next call is the third Friday of March. Registration is the perpetual link that we have. It's bit.ly/MVPOH. You can catch the recordings on YouTube. And if you post something about today, we encourage you to use our favorite hashtags. Order of operations today. We invite all of you to share your experiences, insights, and recommendations with the group. If you have anything to share, pop it in the chat. That way we can all click on the links and see the cool stuff. If you have a question, post it in the chat or raise your hand, and then we'll get to you in the best order that we can determine from the chat. Feel free to share your screen, but this is being recorded and we don't want you to get in any trouble and we don't want to get anyone's information shared accidentally. So please do not share any private or proprietary information. We want to have fun and be informal, but let's keep it professional and positive. We are recording again. And then the last bit about this, we love AI. I'm very excited about AI. I'm an Agent Blazer. I don't know if you guys can read this. It's shiny and holographic, and I like it. It's my favorite sweatshirt because it's stretchy on the side. It's not like just straight sweatshirt. Anyway, we're all learning AI, but do not, under any circumstances, have the content transcribed or recorded by an AI tool. If you do have something like that, join the chat. We're going to pop them out. So Squire and I are really good about kicking out bots and nonsense. Next. Whoa, look at what's coming, Squire. I'm
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
excited.
It's a lot of stuff coming up.
I'm so excited. So TDX is in what, like 9 days? And
Mhm.
the Education Summit comes to Chicago after that. And then the Tableau Conference happens. And then True North Dreamin' starts up in Vancouver, Mid-Atlantic Dreamin', Mar Dreamin', Tahoe Dreamin'. Kathy, I see you dancing. True North Dreamin'. Kathy is, you're our organizer, right? With True North Dreamin'? Yes. And so Mar Dreamin' is in May. And then I'm super excited. My first community conference of the season is Tahoe Dreamin'. And then we've got Texas Dreamin' and Connections and Dreamforce, and then there's others sprinkled in there. But go meet the peoples, go meet the humans, go connect folks in person because online and virtual is fantastic, but go meet the humans. We do encourage all of you to join a Trailblazer group, um, that relates to you. I mean, we love you here. You can stay here until the top of the hour anyway. But sign up for the meeting invites or, get engaged. All right. Now, Lizelle had a question. Is Lizelle on the call? I didn't see Lizelle on the call. I do think that this question got answered. Squire, what's up?
I just wanted, before we get too caught up, were we going to talk about
Oh,
Dale?
rewind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about Dale. We're going to address the fact that Dale is not on Dale's not on the title slide anymore. Dale has stepped down from MVP office hours because Dale is an amazing person who has a lot on his plate and he has prioritized other things ahead of all of us, which is okay, which is absolutely okay. Remember that Squire and I are here as volunteers. Dale was here as a volunteer longer than Squire and I were here, have been here. I don't even know how long. I mean, so many episodes.
Yeah.
Because this is episode 278, and it's been a lot. So Squire and I are here. Dale has stepped down. Dale is around and available to us when we need any assistance, until we don't need his assistance any longer. There was another question that popped up earlier. I think you all maybe got caught wind of my Jam co-host's new job, and if the Jam was going to continue, because of his employer, and it is going to continue. We did release episode number 2 this week, and we're going to keep going forward and try not to make anyone angry. And I think that covers all of the crazy questions. Yes,
Think all the
they're not
announcements are done,
they're not
yes.
they're not crazy questions. They're great questions that we and by the way, we did Dale was interested in just kind of quietly stepping aside, and so that's why there wasn't any big announcement or um big hubbub about it. We are grateful to Dale. We're grateful to all of the previous co-hosts of MVP Office Hours that have been here, because without them we wouldn't have what we have today. Okay, Lizelle, is Lizelle on? I do not see Lizelle.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so next screen. We don't have any resources, but does anyone have
There's
any
a,
questions? Is
there
there
was
a
a,
question in the chat?
there are a couple, yes. Before I lose track though, Lizelle had a very well written, I thought, post with a lot of questions.
Hmm.
And there was some collaboration there. And if it's something that you're passionate about, definitely jump over. It's at the top of the success community and help her out if she didn't get her answer. But yeah.
I think she did get her answer, which is really exciting. Also, where is the chat, you guys? I feel like I don't know how to use Zoom today. Um,
So Stu
er,
let off, he had a question about the messaging app.
mhm.
Do you want to voice that and see if there's any input other than what was responded?
Yeah, sure. Well, our organization uses chat and live agent and such and whatever, but we have the old version that I think is being not necessarily deprecated, but just losing support in 2026. And so we've been advised by our AE to look at messaging and in-app web and in-app messaging. Gosh, it's called Meow. M-I-A-W,
Mhm.
Meow. So that's how the Salesforce people at least talk about it.
Mhm.
I've started to set it up in a sandbox and watch some videos, and I've been using Salesforce for a long, long time. Okay, so I'm not dumb. At least I don't think I'm dumb. People call me dumb. I
No.
don't understand it. I don't get it. Even if I walk through all the steps, I'm like, so why am I doing this step? What is this step? So I'm looking for like who's done this before, who understands why you create a messaging channel versus a chat channel, like why the different queues. I need someone to like reboot my brain on how this new messaging system works and what's the right way to set it up.
You are on the front edge of the learning curve here, Stuart. Yeah, is my answer. But I will tell you that the person that keeps saying these same words to me, that we're skipping Ohio,
Yeah, right.
is Mike. Like, Mike keeps talking about meow, and I'm like, I can't do this right now. I just started a new project. Um, so I don't have an answer on this, and I don't have the resources on this, but we can look for them. Does anyone else have anything for Stuart to reboot his brain?
Who would we consider, if they're not on the call right now, who would we consider like the go-to resource in the community for this stuff that we can all throw up the bat signal for? Is there someone? I'm not as connected to the sale or the service.
Yeah, I love that question too. Who is the omni-channel and queue routing and messaging expert? Who's done this like 100 times that I can, like I said, I'll give, like I can't give company money, but I can give my own personal swag. I do you favors on other things, but I'm just lost on this one.
All right, all right.
So,
You know,
throwing that out there.
the service blazer community might be a good place to start.
Okay.
And Allie is in the service blazer community, and she might be able to give you some guidance.
It looks
Um,
like Apex Hours did something on it. Just saying.
all right, so
I'm
we'll.
just Googling, so.
Lizelle just showed up, so we could go back to her
Ooh,
question.
Lizelle, we were talking about you in a very positive way. We're very excited about you. And we'll get back to you in just a second. So Stuart, we will do
Yeah,
some collective Googling and
That's fine.
we'll circle back on your omni-channel.
just throwing
Meow.
the question out there, but I like the suggestions I got so far. I will make some relationships there and see if I find out the answer, then I can help others in the future. I will help others in the future. I just
Are you in the service blazer community, by the
Well,
way?
it used to be. I don't know
Wait.
if they kicked me out or not. They
No,
probably
they
kicked
don't
me out.
kick you out. They didn't kick you out.
Wait, before we jump off this too, and I apologize, I'm not trying to like throw
Mhm.
him to the bus. I thought for sure Jake was gonna shout. I thought Jake was our resident service everything expert, but am I wrong in that? I thought you were our guy.
I mean, I kind of missed Stu's question, so
Oh,
I was doing other stuff. Sorry.
that's all right. Well,
Multitasking at its best. You want to try again?
do you mind if we make you listen this time and just make sure?
Yeah, I can listen this time.
No, I mean I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I just know that historically, service, you were the guy that I would.
I've done a lot of service work, if that's what you're asking.
So yeah, so Stu, would you ask
so-
again? And we'll
I'll
keep
make it.
Jake's attention.
I'll make it more compact. So, trying to set up message in app and web, the new messaging service from Salesforce, and I just have a ton of questions, and those questions don't seem to be answered by Salesforce Help or any videos I found, and I just want to make sure I'm doing it the right way. And so, just looking for resources that might know how that works, have set it up 100 times, can
haven't
walk me
used-
through.
I haven't used a new messaging app, but like, if it utilizes omni-channel, it should be pretty standard. I'm not sure what that. I haven't looked into that the new messaging services like
Okay.
that.
And then Jake, the other question that we were throwing on there is, who is your go-to in that space?
Who do I go to?
Like if you've got a service question,
I
who do
go to
you-
one of my coworkers.
Okay, all right. So jump in the car, Stu, head over to Penrod and start shouting into the building, and they'll help you.
So our answer is to bother Jake so he can ask his coworkers.
There it is.
Yeah, we do a lot. We do a lot with field service, and then also with case setup. Service setup.
There's a channel in the Service Blazer community called Ask a Service Blazer, Stuart, where you also might be able to get some clarity on that.
But yeah, Stu, you're not in the minority of the can't find anything, because a lot of stuff we either know because we ran across it and we failed and then failed forward and kept moving forward, and like, don't do that.
Yeah, my questions, I'm trying to do all the questions in advance so that I don't run into huge brick walls. I know that that's how it works. You try something and it fails. But like one of my big questions is, can I set up Meow and still have the old chat bot and all that old stuff still running? Or by me turning on Meow, am I gonna kill what's currently out there?
Think you kill what's out there.
Yeah. Kill it.
Yeah, because in the sandbox we've enabled we've done other things that basically kill the old service bots off, and at least when we enable it, that's what happened. That seemed to be the output of it. I'm not sure if that's the intended, but that's what happened. But we did it in sandbox, so like it didn't like break anything in production at that time. Then we were going to be turning it off anyway, so it didn't really matter once we got to production.
Right. Yeah. At an enterprise organization where you don't control all the product teams, and so service and sales and marketing and messaging, and everybody's got their own set of skills. So it's all good. Thank you for all your advice. I've got a direction.
Yeah, reach out on LinkedIn if you have questions.
There you go. There you go. Lizelle, did you get your answer that you needed? We are we
Yeah.
sharing any? We're not sharing that screen anymore, are we?
No, we're not, but
I can bring it up. If I can find the right screen. Here we are. Because I don't need to share everything with everyone. Seems to happen a lot, but your question was about tracking lead and account follow-ups in Salesforce for your organization. There was a lot of conversation around that. Do you want to recap your question real quick for us?
Oh yeah, basically, we're finally using Salesforce as a true CRM. So starting the whole process of leads and everything like that. And since they want to capture so many fields, 40 plus information points, I was just wondering what the best practice was. And especially since it's cultivating leads and I guess increasing business for existing customers who are actual accounts. They wanted that ability on both ends. And so I figured, okay, what was the best approach? So I had thought about, just lead mapping essentially from leads to accounts or like a custom object. And I got great feedback on that part of, hey, a custom object isn't going to be ideal just because of the whole sharing model. So I love that. And then I initially didn't think mapping fields was right because when I was mapping out my fields, I wasn't seeing the correlating fields in the account record. And then when I got feedback of, hey, it should work, I looked at my field type and I said, oh, no wonder it didn't map. It's because my field types don't match on some of them. So that totally threw.
Right.
So community here, amazing, because I was going in circles of what to do. I was thinking about a whole flow and they're like, why the hell would you do a flow? And I'm like, oh, field mapping, game changer. So thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I saw this like blow up and like I kind of like bubble up as it went through. And I was like, oh, look at this. She even marked the right answer that she liked. I liked it. I was like, this is great. This is great. And this is why we post questions to the community and not just email our web email thing. So Lizelle, thank you. I'm glad you got clarity on that. And then if you run into any other challenges with that, like follow up because the folks want to help. That's why everyone's here.
Amazing
Everyone-
community. Thank you. Yes.
We're glad you're here. So it's either I want to help or I got a question or I got both.
can I ask a follow-up question on all of that? I didn't read the thread, so I apologize if it was answered really well, but I did want to kind of go back to the way you led off is that there are roughly 40 fields and what's the best practice for capturing that data. I'm asking a question specifically about what you heard and what you resolved to address that because I saw a really neat demo a couple weeks ago about that topic. And I was just curious where you ended up is in that space of how do you ensure that 40 fields, whatever, like what's the right way to make sure that those are being tracked? So did you get a response in that space?
Oh, someone had actually touched on the whole activities thing too. And I opted against not using that because my stakeholders were adamant about, hey, I want to see all 40 fields in a record. And so I said, okay, if that's the case, I can't do activities per se, because in order for it to show on a report, you would actually have to pinpoint all 40 activities. And they were just saying that not all 40 activities are going to happen, but just in regards to like conversion and everything like these, they've like done studies supposedly or case studies of, hey, you do at least, 3 out of these 5 and or you do at least like a quarter of these, you're going to go ahead and convert, or otherwise you should go ahead and put your efforts on another lead or another customer who, might just be low volume. So that was kind of the rationale about that piece.
Can I be a slight pain to
No,
you
please.
and just say I'm channeling my inner Dale here. And thinking of the question why. I've read a lot of studies. Ian Gotts actually has done studies on this of the actual parts of Salesforce that are used versus not used. And that comment in there of dang 40 fields, that definitely triggers me to say, do you have a way of tracking and measuring the metrics around those? Because I'm going to put $5 down to say that those 40 fields are not used. Someone really needs to take a look at the value and saying, could that be 4 fields? Because 80% of what we build, sorry to say this, administrators, 80% of what we build is either not used or used incorrectly, or it's It's just junk.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
there's a lot that goes into that though.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Lizelle, if I understood, were you saying there are 40 potential types of follow-up task?
Yes.
And if they do, whatever, a minimum of 5 of them or something, 5 different types?
Yes, we have it like broken out into section of like
Okay,
validate, whatever, like they had, and they
Yeah.
were adamant before, they were essentially have this spreadsheet, so to speak, in an actual spreadsheet where users are manually emailing or on a weekly basis of, hey, these are my touch points. And so I said, oh, well, if you guys have a spreadsheet, let's throw it in Salesforce. And so that's kind of how that conversation came about.
so I'm gonna be a pain, I'm gonna even more of a pain in the ass than Stuart. If I'm understanding this correctly, and obviously we spent 5 minutes scoping, not 50, but if you were to, this is still a perfect use case for tasks because you don't want 40 fields on the account. I agree with Stuart. Most of them will never be filled out. At most, you're going to talk about each one would have 5 out of 40 filled out or something like that, rather on the lead, not on the account. Sorry. But if you were to put a pick list on task where they had to categorize which of these types of activities they just did, and then you made some roll-up fields, which you could do with Dolores, even across that polymorphic what ID field. You could do roll-ups that counted essentially, have they done 5 different activities and at least 5? And then you would know it's time to convert, and you could report on this lead has had that variety of activities, blah, blah, blah.
Oh. I'm thinking about that. So you said Dolores, is that in some, that sounds like it's happening.
Okay, hang on. Let me not add confusion.
Okay.
If you do what I was saying about putting a pick list on the task, make it required, et cetera, then you could count whether 5 unique different types of tasks had been done, or how many tasks have been done, or all the things. That counting presumably would be, you could do it in a report, but I'm talking about a roll-up summary. You can't do a roll-up summary for tasks because it doesn't have a master detail, but the declarative lookup roll-up summary tool, DLRS, thank you, Squire, for putting it in the chat, known to her friends as Dolores, can allow you to do roll-ups across that lookup relationship or any kind of relationship.
On that question, will that work for multi-select pick lists?
So don't use a multi-select pick list. but yes. Say more about your question before we jump to it. But yes, multi-selects are the bane of existence for everyone. Never use them unless you have to. So anyway, keep going.
Okay, because I was just thinking, because you're saying a pick list. And so how would I do that if I have literally, like it's actually 42 fields. So you would say I would have a pick list of all 42 values, and then they would select, hey, this is that. And then I would use the whole Dolores thing.
Well, or you could use, or maybe if they're correlated, you could do a dependent pick list. So you could break it down to be like, initiation tasks and then the 6 of the 40 that apply. Like there's ways to organize it, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I can play around with that. That'll be a fun project. Fun to play with. Okay, thank you very much.
So, and the reason I asked the question, well, first of all, I think, Michael, you were headed somewhere with that. So did you get to finish your thought?
No, that was, obviously, I think there's more sort of scoping and pilot testing to be done, but yeah, no, that was pretty much it.
And you could use Flow to do the same if you feel more comfortable in Flow than installing a package. It's a little bit, it'd be a little bit more complex, but you could. The reason I asked my question going all the way back to like the 40 fields, now that I understand your use case, it doesn't apply, but there was this neat conversation about if you've got, a massive number of fields that need to be filled in, but you haven't set validation rules, what's the best practice? Well, the best practice would be to start with, well, let's make sure, are they all required or not, or which ones are required before you can move forward, right? And set rules that you can't change stages or whatever. But then what they headed toward is like, Well, what you can do is once, say you've got your 40, and let's say 5 of them have to be filled in before you move forward. The rest of them are at the whim of a user. What they had done was they built effectively a scoring system based on those fields. And when they converted it, they also basically said, oh, you converted this and you only filled in 5 of the 40. How did you know that was a good conversion? And start to like almost cycle back to metrics to say, you weren't doing the due diligence, you were just clicking the approves.
Mhm.
I thought that was a really interesting way to talk about it, because then going back to, I remember who was Sue that started off with like, we don't use our systems. You can also then go back and say, you know what? No one ever does more than 5 or 6 or 7. So did we really need all 40 fields? Like, you know, you kind of work at it both ways. Like, are they using it the way you want us to use it? And was it designed to be used? And you kind of get both metrics. That's why I was wondering about the 40 fields, but I think it sounds like you've got a solution where you're at right now.
Okay, but that looks a good, like, I like the whole
I'll
declarative.
also jump
look at- or check.
in on the multi-select pick list question. Because I think, Lizelle, what maybe you were implying was one task could check 2 of the boxes of 2 different types of follow-up.
Yeah,
Yeah, so instead of a multi-select pick list, I mean, 42 is a lot, but these could be checkboxes, and then you could more easily report / aggregate whether, you know, all, you know, 5 unique types of
Mhm.
follow-up have been accomplished or whatever.
gotcha.
You could also make a multi-select pick list so it's easy for your users to use, and then a flow that spreads that out into checkboxes so that you get all the reporting fun.
Oh, that will make it a little easier to read, especially because they're using the iPad to do this a lot of times. So,
Actually, on the iPad, checkboxes are pretty nice. Boop, 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 done.
okay. Oh, food for thought. Thank you for the inspiration. Yes, for sure.
I was going to
Can
say,
you do that again, Michael?
I don't know what you're talking about, Joy. It's recorded.
it's recorded.
Boop, 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 boop. That was great.
It is an important call. Like, I was joking, but not really joking about the multi-select. So when the reason it's like a bad thing is exactly what Michael was describing, which is at the end of the day, that data point is just a bunch of values with commas. And while you can use them,
Yeah.
you have to like treat it like a whole bunch of text and do a bunch of tricky assessments. And like, if you've got office listed twice, you can't, you know, like that sort of thing. So there's value. Just make sure you're using it for the right reason. And if you didn't use it for the right reason, we'll give your phone number to Steve Mo, and then he'll explain to you why it's not a good idea. So and nobody wants that.
Steve Mo's actually talking next week at a virtual meeting, and I'll pop that link in the chat in a minute.
Oh, cool.
Do we have another question in the chat?
Michael had his post and wanted to circle back to that, right?
If anyone has something more pressing or time, you know, sensitive, please take the time instead of me. But then, yes.
You're
Oh,
just
go-
as important as all of
let's-
us, Michael.
Yeah. What do you got?
All right, so my question is, this is more of, you know, pros and cons. The idea of doing your user management in the, you know, future world where it's not on profile, where permissions are not on profile, using permission sets or permission set groups. I tend to lean towards individual permission sets and user access policies that assign a whole pile of them, as opposed to putting that pile in a permission set group and assigning just the permission set group. But I would love to hear opinions on the 2 approaches.
Can I share my experience about permission set groups?
Please.
Like, I had an awful experience. We used permission set groups when we launched, and I don't know if it's because we use Health Cloud or Intelligent Sales. We had permissions in place where it was like on a private sharing model, and then all of a sudden it opened up access all of a sudden. And so when I like recreated the public groups, when I deleted the public groups and then recreated them, literally the next day it opened up all our access, and I created a support ticket for that, and they said it was a bug of some sort. I don't know if it's because of our instance or anything like that. So because of that reason, I have just stayed away from public groups, because that was a very painful thing of just, I thought it was me, and then I finally like connected with support and showed my screen and saw all of a sudden here, these are all our permissions. And then boom, the next day it got all opened up to like view for everything. Even though the individual permission sets didn't have view all, if that makes sense. So honestly, I'm kind of traumatized from permission set groups for that reason.
Well, and sorry, just to make you go a little bit deeper, because you went from permission set to public groups. And then
Oh,
back to permission set groups.
Oh.
Which one are you talking about? I just want to make sure we're.
permission set, oh yeah, permission sets and permission set groups.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
traumatized from
That's
the
right.
group aspect. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of it is context, so I don't, if you want me to explain our context. So I'm at an enterprise financial services company that has thousands of users and multiple product teams that are all building and then assigning access control to their functionality. When we look at our access control, it's the whole company has it centralized through like ServiceNow tickets and Workday rules, and then it goes through a auto provisioning service, and then sends that out to all these systems, including Salesforce. A lot of those systems, for whatever reason, can't handle permission set groups. So that's one reason why we're not using permission set groups. The other one is it's really difficult to explain. It's easy for permissions. When I'm building a new widget and I'm going to put it in the service console, give a permission to this set of users. Super easy. And so I can set up as many permission sets as I want and assign them out to the people that need them, and then tell the auto provisioning service this is how it works. Permission set groups are a little bit harder because it encapsulates more of that persona. There might be multiple things. There might be muting rules. There might be all sorts of things attached to that. And maybe that's one of the reasons why it's hard for these auto provisioning systems to use them. But from product teams, from developers, to coordinate, understand, okay, we're going to set up this permission set group, and across the board, different product teams can use that for personas, for setting up who sees what, who does what. It gets tricky. It gets really complicated, and we're trying to educate them at the platform level, but I think we're going to say, until we really understand what the overall risk is, maybe we don't touch PSGs at this point in time. But that's again from a very different context, and most people won't have that problem.
Yeah, I'm with you, Stu. I feel like
I'm also curious, the one thing I think, and I laid this out in my post, was obviously if you use PSGs, you get.
We lost your audio, Michael.
I don't
Or I lost.
find that a big loss, but I'm curious if others have opinions on that.
we lost half of what you were saying, Michael.
That's
You're
awesome.
on mute.
Now you're not, your audio dropped out while you're like mid explanation. We're like,
Sorry, is it better now?
yes, we can hear you now.
The question was, PSGs have muting. There's no analog to muting. If you're not using PSGs, there's no muting. I don't find that a big loss. I find it way easier to think in terms of building up permissions and only building up rather than building up, taking down in some cases, but not in all. Open to being convinced.
I mean, my assumption, or not my assumption, my feedback is PSGs is pre-access the automation to assign. Brain is turning to mush here.
Pre-user access policies.
Yeah, user access policies. So that was their first way to give you user access policy controls that now you've got it. I don't think PSGs are valuable outside of muting anymore. Depends on your scope, depends on your definitions, but I don't think you should plan for a PSG. I think there's a use case that's specific to a PSG and only use it then. So I'm with you in kind of what Stu was saying. Like, if you have to build 50 permission sets to achieve your access controls, cool. I know exactly what they do and how to do them. And now I have tools that allow me to grant them en masse or individually, and I know exactly what they do, especially when you can lose muting in the midst of all that. Is there anything more painful than I added 3 PSGs, and now I don't really know why anybody has access to anything, and I have to pull it all back and start again. Like, that's the worst. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is philosophically similar. Like, I would only use PSGs if I'm like in small organizations where it's like they're going to be manually assigned when they onboard new users. But if you're going to have automation to do all the stuff anyway, then it's just more complex and doesn't really add any value.
I think the only time I've seen it, I shouldn't say the only, a good use case for a PSG is when you have a feature set that is unique based on, say, role, and it makes more sense to have a set of features. Like I always use the football analogy. So I'm like, I can make a passing permission set and a kicking permission set and a throwing permission set. And sometimes I need someone like a Taysom Hill who can do it all. So I'm going to put them all in a permission set group and send all 3. But sometimes I just need to give passing to the quarterback, and that's my feature versus my grouping. Like there's going to be really unique situations where it just makes sense, but you still end up having to make it small and then group them together. So why bother? So.
Wonderful sports-based analogy. I hope you kick a home run. That'll be great.
Right.
Sorry, I have a side note. Once you're done, Michael, I have a side note.
I was
And
gonna
that-
say, I use them a lot because we do health cloud and field service setups all the time, and there's a lot of specialized permissions you need for those. So we create a lot of permission set groups for people that have those that need the right permissions. Because going to a person and say, okay, for this particular individual, they need this permission set, this permission, this permission. They need 5 permission sets, and remember that every single time. And then for another group, they need 6 different permission sets. So we'll build out groups just so they can easily assign the correct permissions for those individuals, because there's so many that get provided by the different extended clouds that we have to group them together. Otherwise, we provide a huge list of, for this particular group of users, they need all these permissions, and this other one, they need all these. So we build groups that way.
Right.
So it's kind of like your starting point, and then we may add on to it with other things, but that's your starting point.
But why
I
not
guess-
just build a unique access policy that you can run on the fly?
That one.
Because most of our customers aren't that sophisticated.
That's a little mature. It's a little more mature than
All right.
the one
they
thing.
just
If
bought Salesforce Squire, so
if you do have an existing org that's really complicated and mature, and you're looking at say moving into permission set groups, well, I have a personal opinion, and then anyone can disagree with me. You might want to look at the profiles first, really understand like who has access to what at the profile level. And if you need to clean those up, then do clean that up. And then if you need to move those into permission sets, or really understand your permission sets, but just truly understand who sees what, who does what. Because adding permission set groups on top is just going to be adding more band-aids to the tear. You need to really start at like minimum access policy, and then move up from there.
Couldn't agree more, Stu.
We've come such a long way
Yeah.
with profiles and perm sets and perm set groups and user access. Oh, I love it. I feel like I've been talking about Cheryl all week. Talked about her on Monday, talked about her on Wednesday, talked about her today. It's great. It's great. Cheryl Feldman's doing amazing work. What is today? Today, Friday. You guys.
It is.
Whew.
All day.
All right. We have James has a question,
He does.
and I think Michael Klodner has an opinion. James, do you want to? I don't know.
I never have opinions, Joy.
No, you just state the facts, right? Like, James, do you want to give us a recap of your
Sure,
question?
sure, and thank you. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I figured I'd just throw it out there, and if anybody's got thoughts, that'd be fantastic.
Mhm.
I work with a mid-size nonprofit that's more of an association, membership organization, and we're about 2 years into our Salesforce journey, really around membership management and club management, and we're bringing in events and other things. So on the newer side, but feeling like we're learning. And we have a MarTech platform right now that isn't really serving our needs. Bulk email subscriptions, marketing automation. And a peer organization of ours has been on the legacy, the ExactTarget Salesforce Marketing Cloud for a while. Speaks highly of it. So, CMO to CMO, they think it's fantastic. And I'm just I'm concerned with the roadmap of, I guess, potentially all three products. It seems like there's the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Growth, which is the new shiny built on the core product, and maybe there's advanced that I've just heard mention of. I've seen core and it seems light, right? So it doesn't have feature parity with Marketing Cloud Legacy, as I understand it, or the ExactTarget product. And so I'm just kind of in a little bit of a spin, because I don't want marketing to get enamored with the bright and shiny and get something that doesn't necessarily fit the needs of the organization.
There's good news. So we have Marketing Cloud. Marketing Cloud is not going to go anywhere. Salesforce is investing heavily in Marketing Cloud, and things like Data Cloud and AI only build up Marketing Cloud to be even better. And this is not Salesforce. This is Stuart speaking, just based on what I've seen and being a customer and kind of looking at the future in my vision. Different editions, I don't know. Some of these are going to be around your context of how does data get into your marketing system? Is that through different topics or APIs or things like that? And then really looking at and studying deeply of, okay, how is that going to work if we moved over to Marketing Cloud? A lot of it's around data and how do you transfer data?
Yeah, I feel okay with that. I mean, the Data Cloud component, I don't totally understand yet as it pertains to really either the growth product, because I think it sits on top of Data Cloud, and I don't understand the licensing, the cost side of it yet. And I don't want to turn on a paddle wheel and then get surprised.
The cost size of Marketing Cloud Legacy is not always as straightforward either.
Yeah, I got a feeling on that. So I mean, it's not a large organization. We've got 60-ish thousand active members. Call it 300,000 past and present. And then, tack on another, say 300,000 of folks that are not yet members, but in the pipe. So in a Salesforce Marketing Cloud standpoint, we'd have, as I understand it, what is it? What do they call it? A data extension from the CRM side, which has all our past and present members. And then we pull,
so you have a data extension that lets you share the data back and forth, but those contacts are going to live in Marketing Cloud as a separate Marketing Cloud contact.
Right.
And then the pricing structure in Marketing Cloud has fees per contact, but also fees per things you send. And those vary based on the medium through which you send. So whatever the credit thing is, it's X number of credits for an email, a different number of credits for a text versus a notification in an app versus, I don't remember the other things that are now available.
Are you planning on bringing all those contacts into Marketing Cloud that you mentioned?
We wouldn't, just from a budget standpoint. In a perfect world, if there weren't limits, then we would. But
if you're not going to bring them all in, do not have public sharing on the account in the contact object.
Yeah. No, really, the nature of the question was really more. I was really more kind of interested in, or concerned about, the the prospective roadmaps, like that concept of is legacy going away, and I understand it's big enough that it probably in the next 10 years is not going anywhere, and maybe they're still doing some level of innovation within the product.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting rid of it because they just added new products onto it in the past year or so.
Okay.
Around like marketing cloud analytics and some of that. They're adding new features to that tool. So I don't foresee marketing cloud going away. Growth is just meant to compete with product more or less, but it feel like marketing cloud. The advantage of growth is that if your skill set is more platform based, they use flows and things of that nature. So if you're used to that, you may have an easier advantage of grasping that tool versus marketing cloud, which is a little more complex. You have to learn the whole. You have to learn everything that goes with marketing cloud, whereas it's a little more clearer. I don't say clear, but it's supposedly more straightforward on the platform. But it does utilize a lot of data cloud elements, especially the advanced edition uses a lot of data cloud portions of it to make things work. So there's a lot of pros and cons of which way you want. So it really depends on who is managing and what is their preference, what is their skill set at. I will say with your volume, I'd probably, and the other thing is how often do you want to send things out? With your volume, you may want to lean more towards marketing cloud legacy versus the growth. But that's kind of a decision you'll have to make. But
yeah, I mean the general momentum right now is leaning towards legacy. I'm probably the one that's really representing like, well, I'm concerned that we do an implementation and then 3 years down the road, we need to do a migration to the new, to the growth product that is matured. And now we have to move to the core.
And I
But
feel
sounds
like if they're going to push that growth product as a replacement for legacy at some point, they will have to also provide tools to help those that are on it to move. So there's that. As for the idea of like journeys and marketing cloud and their difference between flow, honestly, I've worked with enough users in the marketing side that understanding that the biggest hurdle for them have been getting used to SQL, true SQL versus SOQL versus either or, which are switching between the two. But for the most part, it's not that different from Flow. Yeah, sometimes there's a little more you have to actually type into each little component piece compared to like what Flow has you do, but it's really not that different. And for a marketing person, those seem to make really good sense because it really fits with what they view as their kind of cycle of how they want to, their cadence of emailing, contacting.
Okay. So it sounds like reasonably general consensus is that if we were going to continue down the path of the legacy product, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, that's not nobody's raising their hands, hair on fire. So that's fantastic.
I mean, not unless people where you're at really hate Marketing Cloud.
No, I mean, it would be a vast improvement to what we've got right now. So, it was,
I mean, I've been in situations where places have not liked it and we've moved off of it to something else. Not always fun.
Yeah. No, I was really more just thinking roadmap. So I was the one that kind of raised my hand and was the Eeyore in the group saying, well, wait a minute, let's look. But that's good. That's great.
Linda, I feel like you're like sharing things.
I've not shared that much.
I know. Just
Thank
think
you.
about like some of our past traumas. It's all right. Linda and I used to work together, Jay.
That's awesome.
We are about 5 minutes to the end. So are there any other questions? Y'all are sleepy today. The snow and the weather's got you under. Does anyone have warmer temperatures where they're at? Because it says 30 degrees outside, but I was outside and I don't believe it. I feel like I was battling 1 and 2 degrees this week.
I I don't feel like it was that cold when I was out, but that's because it was snowing, and so it always feels warmer.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
We just
Did
hit
anybody have to
46.
go through do the ISO conversion, that ISO API 45 issue? Did anybody have to deal with that and have any problems?
I didn't have,
Well-
well, we got all the error messages for one of our orgs, and I spent yesterday upping every Apex class to at least 46.
So
That was lots of fun.
NPSP's triggers are not upped.
okay, nice. The reason I'm asking is we're having this debate right now of the way the release update is written. It suggests to me that you really don't have to worry about it if you're using those methods and that data type in your class. But the other side of the coin is, even though it's not a deprecation, they're basically saying better put everything at 45 or higher. Well, which is it? Like, you should have just made it a 45 if that was really the message. So we're struggling.
I don't, to me, it was weird because if you don't have date stuff in that class, why does it matter?
Right.
But given how many of those messages I got because of Trailhead Playgrounds
Right.
and developer orgs I had, where like I had a developer org with that whole, at one time, the Trailblazer board thing that was out there in there. By the way, that one is like 35, so that was no good. I just uninstalled it because I was like, all right, I can't even pull my own profile anymore because it hits
Yeah.
the max
I-
amount of space in a developer org from just badges.
We had the same problem, like the items that are under 45 API version are the things that we've been supplied from vendors such as the Salesforce App Store or the
Yep.
lab store. And so it's like, well, Doctor Heal Thyself, like as soon as you get those updated and we can deploy them, then that message goes away. But I don't, the warning was very unclear. Like, okay, you're now pushing it back to summer. Is this a problem, or is I don't get it. I really don't
I
get it.
also thought the way I read it was, we won't do it automatically for you, but you could turn it on anytime you want to if you want to. So it was also kind of a weird way it's worded, that then do I have to at all? Do I just like, well, I don't care if it's JDK or not. I'm just gonna hit the switch so I stop getting the errors. We just keep going around and around and around.
Mhm.
We'll figure it out. It sounds like everyone's been dealing with the same hurdles. So all right, cool.
I also
I love-
feel like
love
like
that.
a number of the unofficial SF things have been updated recently to try to get a number of those things up to at least
Mhm.
45, hopefully much
Mm.
newer than that. But there are definitely some older pieces in there that aren't going to get updated. However, if you installed with the installer they moved to, most of them are now in unlocked packages,
Mhm.
which kind of separates them. And that checker might not be checking things in unlocked packages because a standard
Mm.
metadata API does not pull content in unlocked packages.
Right. All right.
Yeah,
Dropping the knowledge on us, Linda. I love it.
if you use Dolores to install triggers on your child objects, ages and ages and ages ago, those triggers might still be old and I mean, it's not hard, but you need to, basically like uninstall, reinstall, and then it'll be bumped up to the latest.
I
You
think
could do
there's
it in a sandbox and then deploy the changed version is the right way to do it.
isn't there like a button though for some of those? Like the ones it generates, I thought there's some button that you can force them to regenerate.
I don't think there's a regenerate, but you could force it to undeploy and redeploy.
That particular rollup.
Correct.
Yeah.
I heard Linda say, "Isn't there a but in there?" And I was like, "There's always a but in there.
No,
Like, when is there not? There's
always a but.
exceptions. There's exceptions to
Button.
everything, Linda."
And on that note, Joy is kicking us out.
Yep. You gotta go.
Well, hey, don't you love how that works? It is 1 minute to the top of the hour. You all have places to go, people to see, meetings to have, snacks to get. Maybe you got a bio break on your list. I don't know. Maybe your dog's barking. I don't know. Mine's not, but I do have another meeting. So thank you all for being here today. We will see you in, oh my gosh, 4 weeks, which seems like forever away. If you're going to be at TDX, find me, I'd love to see you. I will definitely like lose context. So like be like Joy, MVP office hours. I'll be like, oh yeah, of course.
Joy, do you remember me?
Oh, Stuart. Oh, Stuart. You're so silly. All right. Bye, friends.
Bye all.